you ever watched a handmade seller sell out at a market and wondered, what are they doing differently? Your prices are great, your product is well made, and maybe you've spent hours creating this inventory. Your stuff isn't selling, and you see their stuff just selling out. But if customers aren't buying, the problem might not be your products. It might be your marketing or your merchandising. Today, I want to show you the difference between the two and give you practical strategies that you can use whether you sell at craft fairs, pop-up shops, boutiques, on Etsy, or on your own website. Most handmade sellers use the words marketing and merchandising interchangeably, but they're actually two completely different things. Marketing gets people to notice you, and merchandising helps them decide to buy. Think of it this way. Marketing gets someone to stop scrolling. Merchandising gets them to click add to cart. Marketing gets someone to walk up to your booth or into your store. Merchandising gets them to walk out with a bag. Let's start with marketing, because if no one ever even sees your product, you're not going to be able to get them to buy it. We want them to come in, we want them to see it first. That's marketing. We need to bring them into our store, we need to bring them to our website. However it is, we want to get our product in front of them. Now, one of the biggest strategies that I have talked about many times, and you probably have seen me even use as my own strategy for marketing, is making what you're selling relatable. You want to tell stories, not talk about special features. I know that for many, it could seem really, really important to know that this product is made of pine or this is made of a polymer clay. All of those things are important information, and as customers get to know you, or if they ask, it is absolutely something you want to be able to share. However, the first step in is figuring out why they would want to buy this item in the first place. A great example for you here is my desk sitters. I know that many already know what I mean when I say desk sitters, especially here on YouTube, because you were around when I first decided, along with you, to call them desk sitters instead of shelf sitters. Recently, I've been getting more and more questions about what a desk sitter is, and it's because a lot of what I'm sharing now is just using the term naturally without actually giving it context. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It piques interest. It makes people interested in asking, what is a desk sitter anyway? What do you do with it? And so then I can go into detail about what it is and how it's used. And I feel that the biggest change that I made with my product wasn't even the finish, the seal, the images that I used, or anything like that. It was finding a way to immediately draw them away from a concept of a shelf sitter or home decor that is just, I guess, more of a common thing that they could get anywhere, calling it a desk sitter and making it seem more like a gift to give somebody else versus something you're going to be buying for yourself. Now, can you buy it for yourself? Absolutely. But these desk sitters were meant to be for teachers, coworkers, moms, a friend, basically anybody who needs a laugh. And that's how I was able to market them. I was able to come up with a strategy and a term and phrases that immediately made customers think, oh, this goes on a desk. Oh, this is for an office. This is for work. Oh, my coworker would love this. Oh, we say this to each other all the time. Those are the kinds of conversations that I had at craft shows, that I was having online through social media, to bring people towards that concept versus thinking of everything as some beautiful home decor. It is not about taking away from what the actual name of other items are, but it's finding a way to reach my audience, my customers, which may not be the same customers that might purchase one of those pricier, more expensive items like a gorgeous vase or a handmade bowl, things like that. I knew that wasn't my market, and I had to find the market that I knew would be able to relate to these desk sitters. Another thing you want to consider is showing your product in real life, whether in person or online, you want to make sure that you are finding a way to really showcase how that item would look in someone's home, on someone's desk. Find different ways and strategies to do that. Now, when you are in person, especially at a craft show, you might not be able to do this as easily as if, let's say, you had a booth space or a storefront where you'd be able to kind of showcase these desk sitters in a vignette. And I'm just using my desk sitters as an example, but take what you have and what you sell and kind of spin it into your own way of showcasing what you sell. You want people to imagine how they would use your item, or when they give it to somebody, how that person would use it. Something that allows somebody to immediately bring themselves to where it could end up should they purchase it. If you sell jewelry, show different ways that jewelry would look on someone's neck, on their hand, however they would end up seeing it, so they can imagine what it would feel like to have it themselves. This can apply to pretty much anything. Comment below if you have something that you're selling and feel stuck with how to show that product in real life. And I guarantee if I can't find an answer or a suggestion, somebody else will. So please put that in the comments right now and let's see how we can help each other market our products. Now let's talk about merchandising. This is really important because this is where many sellers leave money on the table. You want to make sure that your customers understand what you're selling, because if they don't, they often won't buy. So when I had talked earlier about how people didn't know what a desk sitter even was, that actually can work against me, and it could work against you too if that is something that is happening to you at your shows or online. You want to make sure you have clear pricing, clear categories. You want to make sure that the customer understands the organization of how you have everything set up. And that is whether you're online, on your website, however you're selling, it needs to be very clear and understood. What are the expectations? What do I have to pay? How am I going to pay for it? And how does everything look? How will it arrive? Because those things are what will take a customer from being really, really sure and loving a product to being very caught off guard, or maybe a little bit more uneasy about moving forward with their purchase. I have many other episodes here on my channel that talk a lot about different ways of merchandising, but the most important thing to hit home with is you want to make sure that your customer feels very, very satisfied and confident about their purchase. The easier shopping feels, the more sales happen. One of the biggest things that I realized was going to be very, very effective for me with my business was creating collections, creating sets. At a craft show in person, yes, selling a little desk sitter at $6 each or 2 for $10 is great because those customers pick it up, they put it in a bag, and then they're done. And that works out wonderfully for me. However, selling online, which is the bulk of how I sell things, I needed to come up with a different solution because selling one-off pieces at that price and knowing how much shipping would be for the customer and then ultimately for myself, it wasn't really going to be a very sustainable way to grow my business. I decided to create bundles. I created wholesale bundles sold in sets of 12, and I offered free shipping. So I created a price point that I felt was very, very appropriate given how much it would cost me to ship a set of 12 items, and also consider what that person receiving it would benefit from if they decided to purchase. I will be very honest, I have sold many sets of wholesale orders. I have yet to hear back from those sellers on how they are doing in their shops. I will say it's rather early. It's been about 3 weeks now that I have been doing this mode of selling. So I will continue to check in with you, continue to let you know how those customers are finding that those items are selling within their booth. We can talk about wholesale in another episode and another video, but I wanted to just mention that briefly because I felt that for me was a great way to merchandise my product effectively and help drive continued sales. Marketing gets customers to stop, and merchandising gets customers to shop. So those two things have to go hand in hand to be the most effective for you. This is not new information. I've definitely talked about this before, but I do feel that it was a it was something I almost had to hear myself multiple times to truly understand how to move forward with my business. Find what you feel would be the best way to showcase your work given the platform that you are selling on. I also wanted to share a couple other examples of how I've used this marketing and merchandising strategy online through social media and really give you an example of how that has pretty much launched or really driven sales on my website. All right, I want to show you this is how I organize all of my social media. If you want me to go through this in more detail in another video, I can, but the purpose of this is more to show you a timeline. I posted my very first reel about my desk sitters, and I was calling them shelf sitters. As you can see, it says here, Funny Meme Shelf Sitters 2026. I actually posted it as a shelf sitter when I first posted it. And I think what really drove this reel was because it was relatable to other sellers. I started to see a change in my analytics, and I'm a very, very data-driven person, so I apologize if that is not your style. It's just how I can tell what is working for me and where to go. Well, what I noticed, if I take my data and we look at March 1st through today, get analytics. All right. So you will see that currently my platforms are at 720 followers on Instagram, over 12,000 on Facebook, 1,347 on TikTok, and then my 28,000 on YouTube. My YouTube performance has increased quite a bit. I've grown by like 3,000, but I had a pretty strong following prior to these desk sitters. The biggest amount of growth you can see is right here on Facebook, where I had a growth of 11,400 followers. And that is really where the most engagement has come from since. I just happened to find the right audience in the right place using the right tools. Okay, these little 4x4 meme shelf sitters cost me less than $2 to make, and they might make me almost $200. Each one costs me about $1.90 in materials, and I made 28 of them in about 3 hours, so that is just over $53 invested plus my time. If I am selling them at $7 each or 2 for $10, that would be $196 in revenue and over $140 in profit from simple blocks of wood. The best part? They make great and perfect little gifts for coworkers, teachers, moms, or that friend who just needs a laugh. They're affordable, easy to grab, and funny enough that people usually buy more than one. This is why I love low-cost, high-margin items for my craft fairs. Small items, big profit. Which one would you grab for my booth? Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments, what is one thing that you feel is really holding you back from that next step, from that next stage in your business to allow you to grow? What would you need, or what do you feel you need to do to move to that next step? And what are you trying to do for the next phase in your business? Are you looking to grow yourself at craft shows in person? Are you looking to get a booth, or do you have a booth and kind of feel stuck on how to market your booth so that more people come in and see your things? Or are you really trying to grow an online presence? Any of those things are going to be very important, but the most important is for you to figure out what you need for yourself. So figure that out, and if you feel comfortable, comment below and let me know, because I would love to find ways to help you grow your business and help you see success similar to what I have seen. I am not somebody who is moving at the pace of a rabbit or a hare. I am definitely a tortoise pace when it comes to growing my business. I feel that that is the most sustainable way and the way that I know will be successful for me long term. So if that is something that you are looking to do, please consider subscribing, and also feel free to let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you move to the next stage in your business, understanding that it will be at a tortoise pace, but that's okay, because that's how we know we will grow sustainably in the long run. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.